Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Sam Myrick.
And I'm Juliana Brock. This past Tuesday was the first major election since Donald Trump was inaugurated, and across the country and locally, voters turned out to voice change they think should be made.
That's right, we'll have your details on the biggest races locally and highlights from across the nation.
We'll also bring you the latest on the Trump administration's fight to not provide SNAP benefits in a new event Point Park is looking to bring to campus.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight. A total of 4 people have now been charged in the robbery of the Louvre Museum last month. The stolen jewels have still not been found. 3 of the suspects are male, ages 34, 37, and 39, and are linked to the crime through DNA evidence. The 4th suspect is a female partner of one of the males, aged 38, and is believed to have been complicit in the heist. Paris Public Prosecutor Laure Bicot says the robbers appear to be petty criminals and blue-collar workers. Paris police have confirmed that 2 of the alleged thieves have previous theft charges.
The mayor of Uruapan was shot in a town plaza during Day of the Dead celebrations. Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodriguez, the mayor of Uruapan, was shot 7 times by an unidentified attacker. He was rushed to the hospital where he later died. A city council member and one of Manzo Rodriguez's bodyguards were injured in the attack. The attacker was killed on scene, and the weapon was linked to 2 armed clashes between rival criminal groups. Michoacan is one of the most violent states in Mexico. That evening, hundreds of Uruapan residents followed the funeral procession, dressed in black and holding photos of Manzo Rodriguez. Recently, Manzo Rodriguez called upon the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, on social media to better confront the cartels and criminal groups. Manzo Rodriguez has been under protection since December of 2024, and his security was reinforced last May. This follows a journalist being shot shortly after interviewing Manzo Rodriguez in October of 2024.
Friday, Rio de Janeiro officials have reported that they have identified most of the people killed in the deadly police raid last week. Our target towards the Comando Vermelho gang in favelas ended with 121 people dead, 4 of which were police officers. Favelas are poor, densely populated neighborhoods throughout the city. Of the 99 dead in the Peno neighborhood, reported as of Friday, 42 have outstanding arrests and 78 had criminal records. Brazilian cities are upset at the governor's response to the attacks and protested after the raid. Governor Claudio Castro claimed success in the raid, saying, quote, "Our 4 victims were the 4 police officers killed. The rest were criminals," end quote.
Just today, a federal judge in Rhode Island ruled that the Trump administration find the money to fully fund SNAP benefits by Friday for the remainder of November. The ruling was made by United States District Judge John J. McConnell Jr. after nonprofits and cities were only offered 65% of coverage for the maximum benefits. Today is the 37th day of the government shutdown, the longest in history. Over 40 million Americans rely on SNAP benefits. The standoff has been persistent as Democrats continue voting against reopening the government until Republicans are willing to negotiate expiring health care subsidies. On November 1st, when SNAP benefits were halted, long lines spilled out of food pantries and drive-through giveaways for those in need of groceries and free meals. Services such as DoorDash, Grubhub, and Instacart are offering special deals to those who qualify for SNAP benefits. 24 states have filed lawsuits against the Trump administration, with Pennsylvania being one of them. Here in Pittsburgh, the Allegheny County Sheriff's Office is warning residents of different scams looking to exploit those in need of SNAP benefits. One example is a message promising $1,000 for food if the user clicks on the link. That link will prompt the user to give up personal information. The Sheriff's Office warns residents that social service agents would never ask for your personal information and to be cautious. Across the country, Tuesday marked Election Day for many major races across the country. Reporter Sophia Weiss has the details on the results of multiple races and what the reaction has been nationwide.
Democrats had a big night this week as general off-year elections took place nationwide. Four of the most notable races include New York's mayoral race, governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, and Proposition 50 in California. Among the many statewide races, cost of living, immigration, right to bear guns, and housing were major concerns to voters. Within these four major contests and beyond, Democrats seem to take the lead, with Zohran Mamdani elected as New York's mayor, Abigail Spanberger becoming Virginia's first female governor, Mikey Sherrill becoming New Jersey's first Democratic female governor, and Proposition 50 passing to redraw California's congressional maps. These races made this clear. President Trump's approval doesn't seem to trickle down to local elections despite his endorsements, as concentrated issues per state are more contested among local voters. Other states like Pennsylvania saw a sweep of Democrats within the race, with Trump acknowledging on Wednesday, quote, "Last night it was not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas. I don't think it was good for Republicans," end quote.
President Trump has accused Nigeria of not protecting Christians from violence, instructed the Pentagon to prepare for possible action against Nigeria, and labeled Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu responded on social media saying, quote, "Religious freedom and tolerance have been a core tenet of our collective identity and shall always remain so," end quote. Trump has labeled Nigeria a country of particular concern in his first term, but that label was revoked by Biden soon after he entered office in 2021.
This past week, as the government shutdown has now become the longest in history, the White House added a new page to their official website. The page has been compared to once popular social media site MySpace. The primary purpose of the page is to mock Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries for their stance on the vote that could lead to reopening the government. Many political analysts have said this move is unlike anything they've ever seen by a previous administration, and it raises many questions about professionalism during this federal funding lapse. Both Senator Schumer and Representative Jeffries have declined to speak to the media on the page, and the White House has not issued any official statements about the page. After the break, we'll give you the highlights of the biggest races that took place throughout the country and the states, plus a local protest that took place against an international brand. Don't go anywhere. Corey O'Connor is the 62nd Democratic mayor-elect. O'Connor, the former Allegheny County Controller, is now following in the footsteps of his late father, Bob O'Connor, who was the mayor of Pittsburgh during 2006. He defeated Republican candidate Tony Moreno with 92.2% of the vote, compared to 7.8% for Moreno. O'Connor's campaign highlighted affordable housing and public safety for Pittsburgh. He spoke to supporters in Southside at the Union Building about his goals for his term.
We'll work tirelessly to commit to the promises that we made throughout this campaign. This victory is just the beginning, but I cannot do this alone. Right. I'm asking you to join me in remaking this great city.
That's right.
He has begun to announce his cabinet, with Dan Gilman being made the Chief of Staff and Sheldon Williams being nominated for Director of Public Safety. O'Connor gets sworn in on January 5th of 2026.
Moving out to the entire county, of the 3 seats open in the City Council, Democrats won all 3. District 2 has Kim Cilitro, District 4 has Anthony Coghill, and District 6 has R. Daniel LaBelle. For Judge of the Commonwealth Court, Democrat Stell Tsai took the seat, and Democrat Michael Bauschik has voted to retain his seat. An open seat as Judge of the Superior Court was won by Democrat Brandon Newman, and Democrat Alice Beck-Dubois retained her seat. Moving even further out to the entire state, reporter Cora Polanski is in studio to talk about the very advertised election for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Cora?
That's right. On Election Day, Pennsylvania residents voted whether or not to give PA Supreme Court Justices Christine Donahue, Kevin Dougherty, and David Wecht more time in their positions. All 3 justices, Democrats, were elected in 2015, and the Democratic Party has held a majority since, with 5 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices are first elected through statewide elections and serve 10-year terms, which are decided through retention elections like this one. They can serve an unlimited number of terms, but must retire at 75. This year, the retention election was a hot topic because since Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, abortion rights have been on the line nationwide, but especially in historical swing states like Pennsylvania. Justices Donahue, Dougherty, and Wecht have continuously made strides to protect abortion access in Pennsylvania. In a closely divided case, Justice Donahue overturned a previous ruling that upheld a ban on the use of Medicaid dollars to cover abortion. She said, quote, "The Pennsylvania Constitution secures the fundamental right to reproductive autonomy, which includes a right to decide whether to have an abortion," end quote. If they hadn't been voted to retain their seats, 3 seats would be empty until Governor Josh Shapiro could find Senate-approved replacements, but on Tuesday, the majority voted yes for all 3 justices to retain their positions.
Wrapping up our election coverage, Point Park President Chris Brusalis' wife, Republican Christina Brusalis, lost her re-election campaign as school director for Pine Richland Region 2. Receiving 22% of the vote, she was beaten by Democrat Amy Caffarty, who managed 28.5% of the vote. This marks part of a trend across the school board where Democrats won positions that were majority held by Republicans over the past 4 years. Democrats also won all 4 seats in the county's second largest school district, North Allegheny. Notably, the board led policies over which books were included in the school's libraries, and this power was used to challenge books featuring LGBTQ characters.
Marriott International hotels are coming under fire within the Pittsburgh area and nationwide for their broken commitment to end its use of caged birds. Marriott International agreed in 2018 to end using caged birds by 2025, but they did not uphold their promise, only decreasing their use by 20%. Animal rights protesters and organizations within Pittsburgh have taken the streets at different hotels, including the Industrialist on Wood Street, to encourage more progress. Until progress is made, protests are expected to continue.
This past week, Dean of Student Life Michael Gieske told the SGA student body that Point Park is planning to host a prom event the weekend before classes begin in the spring semester. The event, which he asked the governing body to help organize, would take place on the Saturday night before classes begin. The government body seemed interested in planning it, and in the future, we will look to create a committee to discuss things such as if a prom court will be involved. Other topics of discussion included new flyers the counseling center will be posting around campus, and the discussion of flex dollars being used at downtown businesses. This full meeting can be found at Point Park SGA YouTube channel. Their next meeting is in Lawrence Hall 200 at 3:15 on November 10th.
A local man was arrested in Florida this week. Harvey Scott was taken to custody by Florida police on Tuesday. 37-year-old Scott from Wilkinsburg was wanted in the death for the murder of 18-year-old Declan St. Clair, who lived in the Lemire neighborhood of Pittsburgh. St. Clair was fatally shot in the stomach on June 18, 2025, at the Paul Court Housing Complex located on Wesley Street in Wilkinsburg. Local authorities recently received a tip that Scott may have been in South Florida. The Western Pennsylvania Fugitive Task Force worked also a violation warrant from a 2015 homicide that he was linked to. We're going to go for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have your weekly weather update plus a heartwarming story about a teacher going above and beyond for her student. not all heroes wear capes. All this elementary school teacher needed was a fishing line and a 3D printer. Scott Johnson, esteemed teacher at Red Cross Elementary School in Kentucky, met Jackson Farmer 4 years ago when Farmer entered kindergarten. Farmer was born without a right hand, and Johnson knows he wore a plastic hand for aesthetic reasons. That is when Johnson became inspired to help. Johnson worked in his free time to develop a prosthetic hand for Farmer. He did not tell anyone his plan in case he couldn't figure it out, but 4 years later, he did it. Using fishing line, rubber bands, screws, and corn-based bioplastic, Johnson was able to develop a prototype to show Farmer and his family. 25 hours of printing and 4 hours of assembly later, Farmer, now in 4th grade, has a functioning prosthetic right hand. Johnson was able to access designs and gather advice on how to create a lightweight hand using eNable, a networking movement with 3D printer users hoping to create prosthetics for those in need. The pieces can be recreated and replaced in case of damage, and Johnson provided Farmer and his family the files needed in case that happens to take with him as he moves out of the elementary school Johnson works at. The weather definitely has been getting colder. The real question is how close we are to truly winter weather. Reporter Chandler Bigley is out by the Playhouse to give us a look into our week ahead. Chandler?
Thanks, guys. I'm outside here, right outside the Playhouse. It is nice and windy, as you may see, and it is around the mid-50s today. It's going to dip down into the mid to low 30s later tonight, so make sure you have a jacket with you. Tomorrow, it will be around the same temperature, a little bit warmer, around 65, but it'll have some rain tomorrow, so make sure you have a jacket with a hood or an umbrella with you. And now let's get into this week's weather. As we move into the weekend, we start off on Saturday with low wind and a good amount of sun before the clouds and rain move in Sunday morning and afternoon. Temperatures will hover around the high 50s or to low 60s all day. Monday is when Pittsburgh may have a chance of seeing the first bit of snow midday. Temperatures will be hovering around freezing with some heavy wind and precipitation. It'll feel like it's cold as 28 degrees, so be sure to bundle up. The chance of flurries will continue into Tuesday, though the temperature will be slightly warmer as we head into the middle of the week. We're looking at temperatures in the mid to low 50s with sun finally breaking through as students continue their week. I'm Chandler Bigley, right here on Forbes, right outside the Pittsburgh Playhouse, reporting for UView Television.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Newsnight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
That's right. You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Juliana Brock.
And I'm Sam Myrick. From everyone here at Newsnight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.